welcome to Pops and Hisses, a music podcast where you'll hear directly from musicians about their upcoming concerts, their new music, their stories, and anything and everything else. I'm your host, Kevin Coffey, and I've been a music critic and writer for more than a decade, interviewing thousands of musicians and seeing countless concerts in the process. You can listen to the Pops and Hisses podcast and find music news, reviews, and interviews at popsandhisses.com. In this episode of the podcast, we have Nick Hexum and Peanut of 311. The rock band, who share my hometown of Omaha, Nebraska, was supposed to celebrate its 30th anniversary this year with 50 concerts in 50 states. But it's 2020. Most of the concert industry shut down earlier this year, and for 311, that came right after their 311 Day celebration in mid-March. They haven't played a concert since. Instead, they've been on lockdown, more or less, holed up in their homes in LA. Until now. 311 will play their first 3 albums in their entirety at 3 upcoming streaming concerts. Music on November 11th, Grassroots on December 11th, and their self-titled Blue album on January 11th. Tickets and merchandise bundles are available at 311streamsystem.com. We talked about all of that and a whole lot more. So here's Nick and Peanut from 311. Let's get into it. I want to start by talking about the 30th anniversary. So it's going to be, obviously you guys have a lot of stuff planned, and you guys have done a lot of cool stuff, but it's been not what was on the schedule. So can you talk a little bit about that? Like, what's that been like?
Yeah, I mean, it just is a reminder of how you have to be flexible and roll with the punches to go from planning to do 50 dates in 50 states. And we were, had an anniversary show and just so much planned to now the first shows that we're going to do since our 30th anniversary is, a live stream show from our studio and drive-in shows, all completely new format. So you just have to be flexible and roll with it.
Yeah. When everything kind of came down, what was that conversation like? I mean, what are we going to do? Do we have to cancel the tour?
Did we even talk? I don't even. It was such a hard line decision. There was no conversation involved. It was just like, we're done. We're done until responsible people say we can get back to work.
Yeah. Definitely the weirdest time. Like, just even focusing on adjusting to home life at the beginning of the quarantine. Like, I called it like Little House on the Prairie with iPads, because we were home all the time. The family was home together all the time. The dad leaves once a week to go get supplies, and then other than that, we're just home all the time. So it was such a huge gear shift from normal life to that. And there was some, we made the best of it. There was some huge pluses to, so much family time, like teaching my youngest daughter to read and ride a bike, and just so much time. Like, let's do stuff we haven't done before. Let's play board games. I'm going to teach the kids kickball, which is, a huge part of my childhood. Just different things like that was the upside of the whole weird summer.
Yeah, being home's been great, but you never know how much you're used to traveling, over the course of a 30-year career as a touring musician and a touring band, just that being our focus. It's been weird. It's been great at the same time. Like, I feel my muscles relaxing in ways that they haven't been able to relax, ever. So it feels really good in that way. But, getting back in the room with the band on Monday, and then yesterday was just bliss. It's the goat meme, into transcendental realities. It's just incredible to get all together, because we make magic when we're together, and to be away from it for that long and not share it with other people has been like a phantom limb. You can feel it, but it's not there.
Yeah, I was thinking this must be the first summer in I don't know how long you guys had it had been at home, just not out all the time.
22 years was 98 was the only summer that we've taken off until now. So
that's insane.
Yeah.
So had you get, not that you guys are necessarily hanging out all the time, but had you guys not really seen much of each other, I imagine, or you played together in a while, right?
I hadn't seen much of anybody, you know.
Right.
I have a little agreement with our pod, which is 2 other families that have kids around our same age, and we just made an agreement like we'll only hang out with each other to you know, limit possible spread and stuff like that. So but now the band has, like, we all got rapid tested when we showed up for band practice on Monday, and I just
cool.
I like that we're doing our part and being responsible, because this is a time when, you know, we have a duty to try and keep other people safe by making good decisions.
Right. So you said Monday, was that the first band practice in months?
7-8 months, whatever it's been. Yeah.
So Peanut was saying, you know, you said the Phantom Limb thing, but what was that like? Was there any rust? I mean, some of those songs, I'm sure you couldn't forget them if you tried, but like, how did that feel being back in the same room together?
I think we hit the ground running, to the extent that Scotch, our sound man and often producer, was like, so you guys don't need to rehearse, because we just threw down so hard. But my voice is feeling a little right now. I mean, it's a muscle. So it is, even though we totally rocked that first day, you got to get your muscles used to it. I mean, Peanut said his fingers hurt a little bit, because you never play as hard on your own, even though I was playing and singing all summer, but you never sing as hard and play as hard on your own as you do when you're live. And I made an effort to, like, for me, the streaming show is going to be really fun if we go at it with the same intensity that we do when the audience is there with us. So I was like, I'm going to just go for it and rock really hard. And it takes your body a little bit of time to get used to that.
That's awesome. What'd you guys jump into playing at first? Are you guys getting set for these streaming shows or the drive-in shows, or were you just like, let's play some favorites real quick?
Well,
we're just getting ready for the streaming shows. Playing through music a couple of times and making sure that that's correct is a great way for us to start, because those are songs that we toured on back in years where we played 150 shows a year. So we know those are the songs that we can't help but play well. And it does, you know, it's a full circle when we play those songs too. And to play them as an album is really like a good reminder of how we came out and what our foundation is in, you know, eclecticism and not being afraid of trying everything out. You know, if it feels good for us, you know, we know there's an audience for it. We knew it before there was an audience, and just how fun that is. It's just like a musical shot across the bow, and that I'm really, really proud of, and it's really fun to revisit.
Yeah, it's a great workout, because the majority of the songs are pretty high energy, but then there's also some, you know, pretty moments like My Stony Baby and Paradise and stuff where I get my croon on. So there's a range there. So, but it's so familiar. It's just like, you know, putting on an old comfy jacket.
Yeah. Well, some of those are even back to Omaha Days songs before you guys redid them for that album. So I'm sure you guys must, I don't know, they're like a part of you at this point.
Yeah. I mean, everybody's debut album is kind of a greatest hits of all their best ideas up to that point. And that's why a lot of bands kind of go through a sophomore slump because, you know, you had however many years, 5 years to come up with your debut album. And then the next album is, you know, you only have a few months to put that together. So it's kind of like a greatest hits.
Yeah. So I was thinking about those first 3 records because of the streaming shows. Just what you were mentioning, those 3 albums came out in, was it 3 years or 4 years? You guys released those like bam, bam, bam.
Yeah, 93, 94, 95.
So what was that like? I mean, you guys were just between touring those first few records and recording them, it must have just been insane.
Yeah.
Couldn't do it now.
I don't know how we could do it. Yeah. We do all that touring and writing and recording. That's just some serious youthful energy to pack that much in a year. And then on the Grassroots album was where we gave up our little shared house in Van Nuys and actually just kind of lived on the road. And when we'd get a few days off, we would just stay at some crappy kind of apartment oriented motel. But we lived on the road. So that was something you can kind of only do when you're, what were we, 23, 24 around then. Oh, Peanut was younger, but he's the baby of the bunch.
Yeah,
that's a commitment.
For sure. And then how'd you guys record the Blue album going onto that?
We got our hero, Ron St. Germain, behind the board. And, I don't even remember how we got a hold of him, but he was there, and we were all excited about working together and making it as powerful as we could, while still showing off all the styles that we wanted to kind of throw into the mix. And it's just like I don't know if that was a victory lap from all the touring, but we got a lot of experience from all the shows that we had been playing. We played hundreds of shows at that point, even 5 years into the career, and been all over the country a few times. And we're ready to put down all that experience onto tape, working with a total hero of ours in Ron St. Germain, knowing that we were in good hands, knowing that even though there was like a 20-year difference, he was probably the most excited guy in the room about making this happen and doing it right and keeping it inspired. And it was a great experience, and working with him set us up for a long career.
Yeah, I remember I called him. I had our manager get his phone number, and he was so excited to talk to us. And I couldn't believe it, because we had adored him with his work with Bad Brains and Living Colour and, different punk rock and jazz and like all over the spectrum. And he was just had so much energy. He's like this wiry guy that always wears leather pants and he's just like always in leather and just has so much energy and he matched. We called him an excitable one, and that was our name for ourselves and the fan base as well. And so he just fit right in. It was just so cool that he was so excited to work with us, which was such a surprise.
That's awesome. So it's easy to look back in hindsight on some of that stuff, knowing that album became a hit, sold a lot of records and stuff like that. But did you have that feeling at the time? I mean, Peanut was saying like you knew you had that experience going into there. You had Ron St. Germain, so you were excited about that. Did you know going into those, like, this is going to be something special? Was there that sort of feeling?
Yeah. I mean, I had such a strong feeling about the song Down, because it was just like that chorus that just sticks in your head, but plus so much energy in the verses, and just kind of felt like it was, the best of what we did, but just so many cool songs. And then, Saint helping us record all at once. So capturing that raging, that intensity. And then we got away from that on Transistor, and then got back to that sort of a recorded, getting all the basic tracks down live. Then we did it again a little later, like on From Chaos, when we got back with Saint. But there was just definitely a lot of momentum that we just could feel from the groundswell of Grassroots, about when we'd come back to a town, there was so many more people on each show. So it was, you could just tell that it was like a movement, because I mean, people would start moshing before we even hit the stage, just in anticipation, and just the heat coming off the crowd, and everyone was so sweaty and taking their clothes off, and it was such a young crowd. That you could just feel the crescendo.
Yeah. So revisiting those albums, I mean, like you guys were talking about, you go do music and you did it how many hundreds of times, basically playing just that record and the other few other songs you had. I'm sure you guys were doing the same thing with those first few albums. Now you guys play a set, you're kind of doing the career spanning thing. Is it fun to get back to those songs that, even though you played them a ton before, you probably haven't played all that much, other than maybe the 311 day shows when you guys, play everything?
I had a blast. It was just, just what we needed to have these rehearsals this week, because, like Peanut said, we're just used to doing it every summer. So there was something missing to not do it. And now that we're kind of got our physical chops going by having these 2 rehearsals, we're going to play again tomorrow. Then we'll start to expand to, review other material. We've got the drive-in shows coming up, and we're just very, very blessed to get to do this for a living. It's something that we wanted to do as a hobby, and then it turned into a career, and that's the living the dream.
For sure. So the drive-in shows are, forgive me because I don't have it in front of me, they're end of this month?
What's
they're right
first?
after the streaming shows.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We stream on the 11th. We've got a day off. We're going to drive in the middle of the night to Arizona, and that'll be the 13th will be Arizona. And then after those 2 shows, we're going to drive to Ventura and do drive-in shows there on the 14th.
Right.
I believe.
Sounds right.
It sounds exhausting. It sounds fun. I'm ready for being exhausted. I miss being exhausted, although I'm kind of exhausted.
You're excited for the all-night bus ride?
Yeah, you never know how. Like I said, you never know how used to all that discombobulation and togetherness, and yeah, I mean the good and the bad of all of it is we're all so used to it. We're all so used to being together and being around each other. It's it'll be great to get back to it, and I think the drive-in shows are going to be really full of energy, and the streaming shows as well, because we miss each other so much.
Right. I'm excited to see you guys, because you're playing the streaming shows in the Hive, so it'll be kind of cool to see you guys in your element, so to speak. Like, I mean, that's like a homey place, I'm sure, for you guys.
Yeah, and our road crew has stepped up with some really cool technology surprises that it's not just going to be a camera in a room. There's going to be some really cool stuff visually, and to make it so people will be glad they tuned in.
Yeah. So with the drive-in shows, I was curious, and I know you guys maybe aren't quite there yet. You're kind of focused on getting this first streaming show done, but have you thought about like, are you going to have to project more? Because people are going to be, it's not like walking out, like you said, and there's a crowd right in front of you and they're moshing and going kind of crazy. People will be maybe sitting in their cars or sitting next to their cars or whatever.
Yeah, honking to applaud. And,
yeah.
I haven't watched a lot of videos or anything, but of what the drive-in shows are like. But my friend who came with us on the cruise is in the Band Yachtly crew, and he said it was just a blast. It was so nice to do it. He played the Ventura drive-in situation, and but it's going to be such a difference, because when we're playing at the Hive, it's a relatively small live room, and I'll have this like square where I can rock out in, and then on the drive-in shows, it's going to be a massive stage in the round, so I'll be able to a lot of running. So it's going to be like from being in like a little dog kennel to having a ranch to run around on.
Do a little conditioning before the show. Get some long runs in.
Absolutely.
That's cool. Yeah, I forgot those were in the round. That'll be pretty neat too. But yeah, it's been cool to see people figure out these clever ways to do shows. They've had a few here in town. The few shows there have either been small shows in huge arenas, so they can make like pods of people. Or they've been outdoor shows and same kind of thing, like huge parking lot that would fit 4,000 people with like, 300 to 400 in it. But it's been neat to see people find some way to do live music, because otherwise it's just not happening.
Yeah, I mean, nightlife is just a huge quality of life thing that people have, to be able to have just to have like date nights, or friends going out places together, but then just to have live music. I mean, it's an essential part of the human experience, where I read some books about musicology and the history of music, where 100,000 years ago they had rhythmic music, which was just beating on drums, and probably 50,000 years ago in came the melodic things with like flutes and that type of. And so it's such part of our DNA and the human experience to get together and dance. And so I think that's been part of the sort of depression that the world is going through right now, of missing that. It kind of shows how it's been kind of undervalued about what the service of live music and dancing, and that shared experience, the chemicals you get from it, the oxytocin and the bonding and the joy and the reflection that music provides. It's really good to get back to.
Yeah. Like you were talking about being at home with the family, we're just all of us in the same place all the time, which is really great. But then there's times like that, like doing what I do, I go to, I don't know how many concerts a year, and I haven't really been to anything in like 6 months. So it's been really different.
Yeah.
So, obviously you guys have seen, like, some artists have put out a pandemic album or two while they've been at home and without much else to do. So if you guys been working on music, not that you're, ready to crank out a brand new record right now, but
go ahead, Nut.
No. Yeah, we released. I thought
you were going to talk about our song.
Oh, I will. But we released. I mean, that's I don't know. That's just you and me so far. But yeah, we released Voyager last year.
Right.
Personally, I think it came out a little fast. I wish we would have put a little bit more time into it. So I think that's I don't know how much people feel that, but I think it's a general understanding in the band that there's no real reason to rush new creativity at this point, especially with just everything being up in the air and us just, I don't know, trying to stay mentally solid.
Sure.
If you've got new music, share it is always the right thing to do in our collective, for sure. And what's come out of that is me and Nick have been working on a song for a month or two, and really having fun with it, because it can go anywhere when it's me and him, and talking about the present tense and it being quieter than most things that we do. It's just fun to not really worry about when it's going to be released or what it's going to turn into, and just kind of walking down the road together.
Yeah, I can only imagine what this kind of a forced break would be on younger bands, that if this had happened when we were on Grassroots, like, it would have just really changed the trajectory of our career. But also for, like, imagine people who are 16 and 17 when they're just getting their first freedom to be able to go out and be with people all the time, and then saying you can't, and you just, like, a canceled summer, like that would be really tough. But so on the grand scheme of things, it kind of hit us at a decent time that we had been on a pretty busy album cycle of, like, we put out a relatively a lot of music over the past few years. So yeah. It kind of came at a decent time that we could, just focus on being home with the kids but now it's good we're getting back to it.
Yeah, I've been thinking the same thing. If this would have happened when I was 22, I would have been, like, scratching at the walls to get out. But being home with family and stuff, it's not so bad to have a break.
Yeah, I mean, of course, we're bummed when we see these college kids having huge parties and stuff like that, but it's also like, it would be so hard to resist being together when you're that age. Right. So
yeah. It's kind of cool. I'm appreciative of modern technology for being able to do things like this. I've had some just Zoom calls with friends that I'm not able to see otherwise. But for music, it's kind of cool too, because you don't have to get into a recording studio if you really don't want to. You want to trade musical ideas. Has that been, I mean, for what you guys have been working on, beneficial just to be able to lay something down and trade it back and forth?
Yeah. I mean, we've all kind of, there was a time when we all lived within a 1 mile radius of each other in the middle of the Hollywood Hills, and we were all really close. And that was at a time when the technology was like, we had to be together. We couldn't just, email files and stuff like that. And now we've all moved kind of further away to the outskirts, and seems like that trend continues. So it's really good that we have technology. I mean, same thing with the whole pandemic. Can you imagine if this would have happened in the 90s before everyone had computers and high-speed internet connections? I mean, it would have been really, really terrible. Like, with being, at least my kids now get to have school. So kind of works out.
So with all the stuff that's happened with you guys, especially with the tour being canceled and stuff this year, are you, and I know 2021 is still a question mark, but and I don't know if you guys even have any plans or anything definite, but are you guys looking forward to next year maybe being able to tour and stuff like that? See what happens.
Yeah, there's definitely tentative plans that we hope to be able to do, talking what kind of package can we put together, where can we play, so yeah, we're making tentative plans, but it would be disingenuous to say we've got it all worked out, because you just have to see what happens with health and what kind of concerts are going to be not only allowed by laws, but just responsible to have.
Right.
So we'll see.
The 311 vaccine is coming out in 2 weeks. I promise. I promise.
2 days.
Hold me to it. Use my words against me.
Right. Get a branded 311 vaccine just on the syringe. It'd be good to go. That's what we need to do. That's innovation. That's seizing the now. Yeah.
But yeah, I don't want to be one of the Sturgis bands that's responsible for a wide spread, possibly the whole spread through the Midwest right now. I mean, what a stupid thing to do, and I totally get it. I miss playing shows too. And we had friends that were on that bill, I'm like, God, what are you thinking? I'm like, oh yeah, you're thinking you want to play a show in front of an audience, like, okay, I get it. But it's just it's not the right time. We can't be indulgent in our despair. We got to be smart about this, or it's going to last forever,
Yeah.
So it's hard as it is, and it's frustrating as it is. We got to plan for the future, but we also got to wise up, as a country, in a world, and figure it out together. It's not this is happening to me, it's happening to all of us. So if we can tackle it together, we can take care of it better.
Yeah, I think for some people it's all theoretical and they see it on TV, but like my friend passed away from organ failure from the virus in March. So that was at the very beginning, and it became incredibly real for me. So, you just have to just think about the long game, think about other people, have empathy, and make smart choices.
Right. I mean, and I keep same thing. I've had friends that have gotten sick and stuff, and I keep thinking about, my parents, your guys' parents are around the same age as mine. And it's like, I don't want to get my mom sick. Like, she's in her 70s. That would be terrible. So,
yeah, my dad was out. Yeah. When it's all started, my dad was out in Palm Springs, which is what he usually does in the winter time. And then he realized, like, hey, I've got my support system back in Omaha with the doctors and everything like that, and just a more safe place to be. So he had to just cancel his whole visit and get home. And I definitely supported that decision. It's not worth, a little time together to, have a permanent problem.
Well, we're joking with the 311 vaccine, but have you guys done any more with the sort of branded product sort of stuff? I was thinking about this the other day because I have a can of one of your beers in my fridge, and I was like, I wonder if they're coming out with any other new stuff or talked about it.
I was just looking over our holiday merch line. There's a very attractive dog collar on there that I want for my dogs, and different things that I'm actually not supposed to announce. But yeah, we always want to have new kind of creative stuff for our fans to enjoy.
Yeah, we've got a fresh supply of beer coming out. That's it's not a constant, but it's it's happening at a more regular interval, so you don't have to age your beer in the fridge and drink it fresh.
Yeah, don't have to hoard it. Very cool. Well, that's most of the stuff I wanted to talk about today. So anything else that I missed, or anything else you guys wanted to mention?
No, good to see you.
Yeah, you too. I'm looking forward to those shows, the streaming shows. Obviously, I won't be at the drive-in shows. That's quite a ways away from me, but what if I could?
We want to thank our fans for thinking of us and sticking with us when we, couldn't be there to light the fire in person. And we're just looking forward to being able to be there with them in person when it's safe to do so.
Right. Well, I've heard from a lot of people that are excited about the streaming shows because, people make plans with you guys. People make plans to travel and see you guys. So kind of nice to enjoy that from the comfort of your home. Not have to go anywhere.
Cue the motorcycle gang. Woohoo!
Yeah. Thanks for listening to Pops and Hisses. Subscribe to the podcast on your favorite podcast app or head to popsandhisses.com, where you can listen to the podcast and find more music news, reviews, interviews, and what else? More podcast episodes. I'm your host, Kevin Coffey, and you can follow me on Twitter as @OmahaMusicGuy, or find my page on Facebook by searching for Kevin Coffey. My last name is spelled Coffey, by the way. Thanks to Hurrdat Media for producing the show, and I encourage you to check out Hurrdat's network of podcasts such as my friends Pat and JT, who tell great and funny stories, or Meathead Test Kitchen, where they talk about food and fitness. Find them all at hurrdatmedia.com/network. That's HURRDAT media.com/network. Thanks for listening. See you next time.